Hey guys, I'm in the hotel room in Toronto. Just arrived. Gonna go and meet with Maddie in a little bit, but I thought I'd do a Q&A before we leave for unknown territories. Yukon without any connections and bears and all that. But I just discovered this issue that I have, and that is that apparently we haven't checked everything like 1,000 times. We didn't realize this, but the last flight that we're going on is like a tiny plane, and maybe if it's a full plane we can only have I think 2 bags, but we can only have like 20 kilos, which is very little in film gear. I pretty much have like the checked-in stuff that I have. It's probably about 45 kilos. I guess I could tell you what that is in pounds if you just hold on 1 second, because we just like looked at it. But it's just very little that we can bring. And I have 2 bags, and both of them are way above. Like both of them weighed like 24 kilos on the way here. So it's definitely not a good thing. And I just looked at it, and 44 pounds is what they allow. So I'm just thinking now, like yesterday we rationalized that, okay, we're not going to bring the Inspire, we're going to switch it to the Phantom 4 Pro, which Maddie has, just because it's lighter, it's a little bit better camera, because the X5R that we have, it broke down just before we left, so we had to put the X3 on it, and that one isn't as good as the Phantom 4 Pro. So I just felt like, oh, it just takes space. We don't need it because it's not going to be really windy. Because the Inspire is amazing when you have like big ass winds and stuff. But we're not going to have that, so it's not an issue. So we want to switch that first. But then I realized that, okay, if we have 20 kilos, then I need to restructure everything, and I probably need to leave 1 bag here in Toronto. Which means compromises, and I'm not entirely sure what that's gonna look like. I mean, this light here, looking at it, it looks really good, so I want to bring this one, but I don't know if I can. This is the Pipeline 2-foot. I just have it on a chair to get some light in my face, because I want to have the window and the depth. Okay, so let's just get on to some questions. And sorry I couldn't do this live, because I don't have like the stuff that I need to do it. Otherwise I'm gonna try to set that up so I can do it on the fly, since I travel a lot, and it would probably be a good thing to just do like Q&As like this. It's simple. I think the internet would have held up, proper English grammar and all. Yeah, for now this is fine, I guess. Let me just get these questions. I'm like super stressed out that I might have to leave a bag, but I'm pretty confident that I still have what I need. Like, you don't need the excess stuff. It's just more comfortable shooting. For instance, one compromise that I will have to do is, like, I have the stroller bag that I travel with all the time, because I don't like carrying things in airports and that type of stuff. I might have to like just repackage everything, put it in my f-stop backpack, and just have one hand luggage that I can like put stuff in my pocket, hide things in case they weigh the bag and that sort of thing. That's usually how I do it. I just like take the camera out, take the computer out, take the batteries out, and then I get on flights. But then that's gonna make the bag that I have to bring a little bit more spacious. So we'll see how that turns out. But like, big mess right now, until we know for sure that like we can bring it. Okay, so first question. Hi Johnny, are you canceling for today? I'm doing it now. Sorry, sorry. Is this your first collab with Maddie? 1 year in the making, right? Yeah, it is. Like we started talking to Maddie. Actually, I'm not sure, but Maddie said that we contacted him, but my memory says that he contacted us. I don't know, but he was around like 70K or something at that time, so it was a long time ago. And I think I don't know where we were at, but it was before like McKinnon has like blown to astronomous proportions, and Maddie had like just started living off it. He did that at like 70K. He could live off of YouTube. So I just felt like it was interesting because he had the same mentality as us in terms of like how to make films and work with YouTube, with courses and all those type of assets and stuff. So we started talking, and it felt like we were on the same page. I don't know if we talked about the film at that time. I think that was too early because we had like started making the film, but I don't think it was about the film. It was more about like maybe collab sometime, that type of thing. And then that went on for a while. We didn't like have chance to meet or anything. Then Maddie actually came when he did the Epidemic Sound thing in Stockholm, and we actually met for the first time in Stockholm. We didn't shoot anything then, but we met at a hotel in Stockholm and had breakfast. And even that was like difficult to make happen just because it was so much happening with Epidemic. And yeah, what else? Like we've been like throwing ideas back and forth with things. The film is just one thing, but like for the courses, we've looked a lot at what Maddie has done and asked him for advice before we started making courses, and he's managed to build a platform for what he wants to do now. So I think that's amazing. Like what he's created is basically a platform where he can do pretty much whatever he likes to do. And hopefully that means like more films and all that, and that this is just the first thing. But yeah, it was about a year ago that we started talking. And then I guess like the film, that probably became obvious when we figured out that there was a story in Canada that made sense, because before that we didn't find like a natural connection or anything. So yeah, I just believe in this as a future of filmmaking, this type of collaboration. I think people should make their YouTube channels, they should have that be the platform for their creations. They should make that self-sufficient. They should make it in a way that like people can live off their craft just by doing the YouTube thing. And that means that you need to kind of build products and all those things as well. And we think a lot about that. What is the products that we offer and how do they create value, and then tell stories around you and your work and all that to make those interesting. And I think Maddie has succeeded with that. I think we're on the way, but we're far from being able to live off it. And I mean, he's been alone, so he's probably had an opportunity to also build up a more of a buffer and all that before he hired an editor. We hired an editor, so we were like 3 people at the time. So we have a much higher burn rate as well, so we're forced to kind of make commercials. I want to make commercials for now, but I think in the long run I want to make them more part of the channel rather than being like separate commercials, because I feel like that would be better for the brand and us. If we could implement them, like we're sponsored by Blackmagic, it would be amazing if they were the brand that we worked with and got paid to work with and to make, you know, stuff with their products. That type of thing would make much more sense to me, and I think that's much more trustworthy because I love Blackmagic and I think that they make like amazing products, and I'm part of that ecosystem, so I have no issues saying that, and that it's an amazing camera and editing software and all that. I think that's what you need to create. You need to kind of build it around what you like and what you need to do and all that. And then you can go out and make whatever. And hopefully that ecosystem works together. And I just look at like artists like Chance the Rapper and and people that has like made it independent, like Nipsey Hussle, all these rappers most of the time, but there's a lot of artists that has built like ecosystems underground before they made it big to the mainstream, and like that's what filmmakers needs to do as well, and Maddie has done that, I think. Okay, I've shot 40 hours of rushes for a documentary about a democratic parent school in Italy. How do you process your rushes on your PC? Do you edit it scene by scene? Absolutely, yes. That's what you definitely should do, and then you should kind of map it out. Look at the Confused African editing episode. I go kind of in depth how I work with it. I didn't edit that, but it's just more about like how in theory to edit stuff, and then like edit stuff in scenes, start mapping out the scenes. I don't export them. I just I export them sometimes if I want to watch on the fly somewhere, like on a beach on an iPhone. But otherwise, I just like watch them and try to kind of make sense how they connect and try to piece a puzzle together, which is the story. What's that? Fridge. Do you hear it? I don't know. I hear it. I'll just continue anyway. I think that was that question. What are the most useful tools or gear when shooting outside in daylight and rain? I guess you're talking daylight and rain as a... Okay, what do you absolutely need? Top 3, top 5. Have a great day, dude. Reflector, I feel, is a really... that's a thing that can make it stand out and make it more interesting than just like pale and boring. I think a reflector is something that you probably want to use to get some character, to get like this. You have light on this side, black light. Try to work with lighting in that way. Umbrella is a good thing, and if you have an easy rig, then the umbrella can be just stuck there and you don't have to hold it. No hands, just film on. Otherwise, some other type of protection. I have like clear trash bags that I kind of tape onto my cameras if I'm like in heavy rain. I don't have a rain cover per se. I just feel like they're unnecessary. If you have the trash bags, then that's totally fine. You just cut them as you need them, and yeah, be under a roof could also be another way of solving it. Maybe I'll see you guys around Maddie's office. Lol. Yeah, maybe you will. I don't know how much time we'll have when we get back. We don't have time now before we leave, because we leave tonight. Maddie's actually coming by in like a couple of hours. But I don't know how much time we'll have going out to his office. Yes, welcome back to town, brother. Are you guys showing a film? No, actually we're shooting a film. And doing some meetings. When I get back to Toronto, I'm also meeting with like film festivals and programmers and that type of thing. Don't have much time now because we just, like, I got in yesterday and we just need to like pack, and I need to get this done, and yeah, then we leave. And it's like a long flight. By the way, are you in Stockholm for FSF Day next week? No. I think I'm here, and then I go back. And then I probably need to catch up on like advertising work. I have a couple of pitches that I need to do. Maybe I do that while I travel though. And then, yeah, I go and shoot something, I think, the week after. Might go to Mexico, I don't know. Everything needs to happen before midsummer, which is like in 2 weeks. Yeah, but I won't make it probably. Just too much hassle now before summer break. Hey Jonny, you should be contacted by Blackmagic soon. I am though. Andre actually, I don't know how he managed to get that working, but I think that's like an ideal situation where we have been like chasing Blackmagic for a long time to kind of make a collaboration because we just love the products. So it just makes sense. Like I have worked a lot with Canon. I think Canon are just like wasting away their potential just by ignoring creators. The best thing they could have done would have been to kind of make a 5D that is like Magic Lantern but light sensitive. They didn't, and that is probably their downfall, not listening to the demand from people. And then also like their ambassador program is like ridiculous. You have to like apply once a year and then maybe like you get elected. It's probably like a super shallow type of thing. And I just feel like that's not the way I want to work. I had a C300, I had a Mark II and Mark III 5D. I love the cameras and everything, but I just don't like the brand. I think they're a bit, yeah, not so smart about it. Let's say, put it like that. But with Blackmagic, I feel like it's a natural fit. I edit in Resolve, I grade in Resolve, I do sound mixing in Resolve, I shoot on the Pocket Cinema camera, shoot on the 4K Pocket Cinema camera soon, shoot on the Ursa. I just feel like the workflow is like spot on. Editing in ProRes, there's nothing like it. It's so quick and easy. You kind of get like 10, if not even 20 or 30 times as fast render times and all that with ProRes. So I just try to kind of speed up things, and working with the MXF files from the C300 didn't make sense to me. It was like bad at handling the audio, and when you use like 4 channels it was a mess. There's a lot of those things that comes into play, and I just feel like if you can work with brands that are your brands, then you're better off and they're better off. And maybe I change my mind, maybe I go back to Canon someday, but they need to get their act together if that's gonna happen. And like I was the biggest fan of them with the 5D, and then with like the C300, when the first one came out, I really wanted that, but I couldn't afford it. So if I would have afforded it, maybe it would have been different, I don't know. But now it feels like their cameras are like, they're not spot on in like the pricing and everything and the features. And I'm not saying like Ursa isn't the perfect camera, like the Mini 4.6K. It should be more light sensitive. Could be smaller. Other than that though, amazing. But that's just the way I feel. I want a cinema camera, and like the Ursa is that. It's a heavy duty type of cinema camera that you need the easy rig for. I love that. I thought that the C300 was like bad ergonomically. I didn't like it. I didn't like that it's like top loaded with a monitoring unit. It's like flimsy. Everything just get like unstuck. Like I had it for like a year and a half or something. I filmed with it a lot. I know the camera in and out. I work with Canon all the time. I just feel like it was not a superior camera to the Ursa. And it is more light sensitive. It's a cleaner image, but that is not all that I'm looking for. I'm also looking for something that's sturdy and doesn't break. And the monitoring unit started to like come off and be flimsy, and like that, it just like squeaks when you hold it. So when you have a camera mic on top, you get squeaks when you hold it too firmly. And I'm a strong dude, so like a mini issue. Just letting you know. I got video of the creation project of a class theater project, building rehearsals, BTS, but I only got audio from the final performance. How would you make this into a video for memory with music to interviews weeks later? Like I would probably start looking at the scenes you have. So if you have like the way I flush out something that isn't planned is usually I go through the scenes that are there and try to cut them together to see what's there in terms of a story. And then once you have that, once you've cut the scenes, like once you've cut a scene is, for instance, just something happening, and then you cut the scene and then you start seeing like patterns and how they can connect to each other and what the story is. So if you see somebody, like some characters, being like profound in the story, then maybe that's something you need to flush out. Or like a conflict, a fight, something like that, maybe that's something you need to flush out. Or maybe it's just like they can't put up some rig or something, then that's something that you can kind of build a story around that they're fighting with. Once you've started to kind of see that, then you can do like either interviews or voiceover or music or whatever. But I think you need to start with looking at the scenes and seeing where there actually is some potential in building a story, or what it could be like built around, and then like amplify that and make it stronger and more thought out. Yeah, that's like the thing that I always talk about, because I just hate the way people think about B-roll. I don't hate B-roll, I just hate how people perceive B-roll. And it's just like this quick way, like if you're talented and if you know your stuff and if you're experienced, B-roll is a good thing. But if you're starting out, B-roll can be such a bad thing for your development and all. Just because it kind of limits how you think about things. If you instead think about it in scenes and not in a shot list, because people, I understand, people use shot list. I do too, but I'm experienced and know how they fit together, so I can just write. Actually, my shot lists aren't shot lists. I actually don't use shot lists. Correction, rewind. I actually use scene lists. That's what I do. So let's just look at the list that I have now for Keynote. Like this is all the planning that I have. Okay, I have like research and all that in the back of my head, but this is what I've wrote as like a list of scenes. And this is all I need. I need to know what scenes are possible. I know that I'll get the footage of it. I know that I can get all the angles and all those things. I just go about it in like, okay, start the scenes, then capture and bring home all the footage from that. I don't care about getting the angles and the B-roll and all that. I only care about the scenes. Kino City, that's where we're going. Okay, so Jim is one of the characters. He works in a bar, so I want to have the bar. And that means not only like, it doesn't mean shots of the bar, it means the bar, having a scene that shows the bar and him working there, living there, all those things. So that's what my scene list is. It's not, okay, I don't write bar and then I shoot a footage of a bar. Okay, he closes the bar because there's too much people, 3 people coming into the bar. He gets stressed out. That's another scene that I need to have. He's on the porch hanging out. Like there's tension in the town. I also want to capture like a Western feel in this town. Signpost, Kino Hill. Sauna in Kino Hill. And then we have another character. Is playing the guitar. Hiking and being out in the nature. Hunting, guiding us in the car towards the waterfall, which is a waterfall where the Swedes started looking for gold. He's looking for a rock in his small-time mining site, and he's in his home. And then I have like general things of Kino City, just like that's how simple it is. And I don't do shot lists because that dilutes this thing. It just makes you not focused around the story. So look at the scenes and then try to flush out what the story is, and then kind of rewind and try to create something out of that. And then you go back and do the interviews. I usually do the interviews last. And I'm all for pretty shots, pretty B-roll shots. I'm all for that. It's not that. It's just a bad way of thinking about it, listing shots, because you miss the story when you do it that way. Any director understands this. Any cinematographer, many cinematographers do not understand this. Just my humble opinion as a cinematographer going to be a director. I'm actually more of a director nowadays. I had the last question on this. This one's biggest advice for those who want to start telling stories with their work. I guess mostly about just starting, but I think you have an advantage if you just make it personal and start making things around what you know. That will make it much easier for you to kind of stand out. It will also make it easier for you to have something to say. That's an important thing. If you don't have something to say, you will probably give up because it gets, tough or something. Okay, so let me just check some old questions and see if there's anything I haven't answered before I need to figure this packing mess up out. What are the steps to... No, this one I've answered. How to be inspired to create stories, and what are the steps to turn your filmic vision into reality? I think first off, I talked about it earlier in this Q&A. An important step to being inspired and feeling inspired is to have some form of safety. So if you have solved the money issue, whatever you choose to do, if you have an extra job or if you do commercials like I do, wherever it is, you need to solve that. You need to build a platform. Like for Maddie, he built his platform around his educational content. That's what we're doing as well, but he's come much further than we have. But that's one way of doing it. Another way is we do mostly advertising stuff, and another way is just getting an extra job. Solving that and saving up for, I would say, a year, but at least 2 months worth of salary, starting to build up a buffer like that, that's going to make it so much easier for you to feel confident in what you do. And then it's mostly about just going out and starting to make things. And then live life. That's the biggest part of it all, probably, to not be hanging out with too many filmmakers, because they don't have any interesting lives. Our lives are boring. You should meet people. When I go out and I meet people like we're doing now with this film, that's when you live. So go out and make these meetings with different people from different places happen, because that's where you live. You don't live by sitting at home writing or something like that. That's a recipe for boredom for the audience, that is. How do you cut trailers? Check out the video I did before on trailers. But besides that, because I go through different types of trailers, but besides that, I also think trailers today has to be super, they have to be on point and have I don't know how to describe it, but they have to be quick and they have to catch people's attention really quickly. And that's not only fast paced, it's also about the story and needing to starting to make people ask questions so that they want to see more. If you look at what I watch on YouTube that is advertised to me, the only stuff that I stick around to sometimes watch is if it's a trailer. That's how efficient it is, because it's it's something special. There's a story going on, and there's this trailer aesthetic to it that is enticing. People want to watch it. So for the trailer we did for the course, the grading course, we thought about it in a way that hook people, get them to connected to Netflix, person can teach you how to make things as well. And then talking about it personally, trying to develop the whole thing, trying to get people interested by learning more, and trying to hype me in that case. It goes the same for a story. For the Pearl of Africa, it was the same. The first trailers we did was mostly around the whole drama and all, and then we realized that our uniqueness was in the love story, and then we started to remake all our content to be around the love story, because that was at the time what nobody else was doing around transgender issues. So we just felt like, let's just tweak it to that, and then that worked much better. We were able to stand out because of it. So you need to think about those things as well. But then, of course, like, try to hype it as much as possible and make it short and sweet. Yeah, and build drama. Like, you have to have like conflict and people asking questions. That's the main thing when you cut trailers. And the song is like so important. I cannot stress it enough. If you want a salesy trailer, it doesn't have to feel salesy, but if you want it to drive sales, it has to have a strong ass epic song or something. It cannot be just because you're in a mood of having something sentimental or something like that. It can't be that, because that will not trigger those emotions to buy. Yeah. That one I answered. Are you good at dealing with criticism? I guess so, because I just like brush it off. I don't usually listen to people that much. I mean, I listen to people and take stuff in, but usually I found that when I don't agree with people, I just think that it's because I didn't manage to kind of convince them or explain it good enough. It's not that like my idea is bad or like my vision is bad. I still believe in my vision. That's like undeniable. But I would probably question how I packaged it to other people. That's usually what I see. Like, that's the same when I edit for other people. When I kind of send stuff and I've edited for other people and they don't get it, like what I've done, and I get like bad feedback, that's usually because I didn't work on it long enough to make them kind of feel the vision. And then you just need to work more on it, because the ideas that they will come up with, the criticism that they will propose, maybe if it's constructive criticism, that's like 99% of the time it's just shit. It's like shit ideas. Then 1% might be decent. But what they do tell you is that this is a problem, you need to fix it. So that's usually how I see it. And I don't take it personally usually, so yeah. And then like mainly the thing that might affect me, that might be like if I'm stressed for cash or that type of thing, then I probably will be stressed out. But then try to deal with that, because that's the main issue. It's not the criticism. Can you recommend a book to read before I make my first doc? And did you shoot Zero Silence and Pearl of Africa on your own? If yes, why not with a crew? Book to read, Rebel Without a Crew, Robert Rodriguez. I've recommended it before. It's probably the best book to feel inspired and go out and make stuff from nothing. Story by Robert McKee, also a super essential book for everybody to read if you want to tell strong stories. And I've read it like countless times. I love that book. It's so good to just have as a reference, go back to over and over and over again as you start to flesh out a project to make it better, like narratively better. And I don't do that for commercials or anything, but for films like this one, I do that. And I probably do it several times during the course of the project to try to flesh out whatever I do. And yes, I shot both of them myself, both Zero Silence and Pearl of Africa. Like, main reason is money, and because I was a DOP before, so it was not an issue. I had the equipment. It was like I wanted it to do it that way. For this project, I'm more like moving towards not being a DOP. I do self-shoot a lot, but I see myself not self-shooting in the future. Maybe like for certain projects, but for certain projects not so much. Like for commercials, I probably will start using DOPs much more. And I'm not against like collaborations or anything, but I just need to make enough money so that I can do whatever I want to do, and shooting myself was one way of getting some more cash. So that's probably why I did it. hey, my girlfriend and I are shooting a documentary on really hard social topics in Russia. She'll be an operator and I'll do the audio recordings. Is there anything you can recommend for newbies? Like for audio, like my setup now for this project is two lavs, which will be on the subjects, and then I'll use a boom to kind of handle all the situations where it's situations where you can control, or it's situations where you have more people coming in that you haven't had time to kind of set lavs on and that type of thing. That's for audio the best way, I feel. And the wider you are with in terms of like lenses, the more trouble you will have with having like a boom or something. So if you're zoomed in, it's easier to kind of get it out of the way. So think about using whatever focal length that is good for your situation. What else? Like for cinematography, I think go back to scenes and don't think so much about like the interviews. Go back to what is the story really about. Like for me, I usually just want to follow people around for a couple of days and then I start doing interviews. I don't want to do the interviews first or even the first day or anything like that, just because you don't have a relationship with the person, so the interview won't be as good, and you won't know all the nuances and all those things in their lives because you haven't hung out with them enough. So I structure it like that, and I start like thinking about the scenes that you need to tell your story, whatever that is, and then create those scenes. Like start them in those situations. I'm going to shoot a short film this weekend, and I'm not good at color grading. Should I shoot in C-Log or not? I think you can shoot in C-Log as long as you have a LUT that's made for it. So, for instance, if you have a Film Convert, that plugin, you have LUTs that are really good because you can choose what camera you're using, and then it adapts. So you could do that. I would do that. I did that for a long time. For a lot of TV stuff I did that because it was so short on time, so I didn't want to grade it properly. So I just put that on and yeah, it worked. It didn't look as good, but if you don't get paid, yeah, don't do it. How do you generate ideas for your films? I really want to make short films and I have some ideas, but I don't have people around me who wants to do that. Any ideas or suggestions for that? I think mainly it comes down to you just going out and making stuff that you want to make and build a platform. And I come back to platform because platform is not all about like money. It's also about like what do you have in terms of tools, like cameras, people, resources, all those things, and work from whatever you have and start the ideas there. Don't make ideas that demands helicopters if you don't have helicopters. I think that's a big thing with people. They go out and they try to make feature films where you need a crew of 20 people, but they only have themselves. Go out and make a personal film or a documentary instead, and start there and start learning the craft of filmmaking first before you do those things, and then like work towards something. Take like baby steps further towards it rather than thinking that it's going to happen overnight. It's a little bit of a difference between Bad Taste and The Lord of the Rings, and that's probably all I need to say. That's how you develop. You make stuff and then you get to make other stuff. What has happened? Okay, so let me just do this last question. This is like 40 minutes, but still, I need to get going. Hey man, love the videos, just bought your course and will be using it on my first doc. What's your #1 tip for someone trying to break into the industry? #1 tip. I think I come back to this a lot because I just believe in it so much. the best way for you to break into the industry is probably Vimeo staff pics. And the reason for it is that people are getting inspired by it, and it's a true thing. Like, I have a friend who got his whole director's rep and all that, and now he's making commercials for like millions. And he did that because he did a Vimeo staff pic video. And they buy that stuff like as stock footage, all those things. Make a project that is getting Vimeo staff pic. That's a proof of you being talented enough to getting paid and getting repped and getting hyped and all those things. That's the number one way of getting into the industry. If you want to do it on like the top level, if you want to do it on a lower level than that and just like make a living, earn a living, then probably like assisting and focusing on networking is the biggest thing you can do. And try to work your way up. Like, try to always over deliver on every project so that you get another ask or get recommended for like a work, job, anything from somebody else. And then lastly, like, you have to win prizes. We don't do that yet because we don't get access to those types of projects. We actually did last year, and this is like, this is a thing that often happens in the advertising industry. We were on a project, we were doing the film, everything was all good. We knew that this is gonna win prizes, because you know that when you see the project. And then the creatives are switched. And then we're also switched. So we're off that project and make it in-house. They win prizes, but not for the film, because it was not as good as it could have been. But the whole campaign won prizes. And that was like a big misfortune that can happen in the industry. But anyway, I'm heading out. I need to kind of solve this issue with the bags though. This is the labs that I use, the Electrosonics PDRs. I usually like know these in and out, and I don't listen in. But now I brought the Sennheiser G3 system that I just put on to kind of monitor. And now I'm starting to think, do I do it or not because of the weight? Anyway, that's the dilemma that you always get. So I just get a pack and then we're leaving. So stay tuned. A lot of more coming out about this project and all that. Follow the whole thing and check out Maddie's channel if you haven't already. Okay, see you guys. Bye bye from Toronto.